In the dark, in the light, messed up, got right, in the day, in the night, no change, it's smoke forever.
Welcome to the Free Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Scott DeVore, aka Free. In this podcast, we explore the art of breaking free from the ordinary to achieve extraordinary results. We teach you the factors to truly become free. Join me in finding out how. What's up? Welcome to Free Factor. I am Scott DeVore, aka Free. I'm with my man E.
Yo,
Man, the dust has settled.
Yeah.
Or the smoke has settled from
sure.
Smokefest 2024.
Yeah.
We were in Nashville, Tennessee for a couple days. It was a phenomenal trip,
such
man.
a good time, man.
I mean, you got some new fits, there.
Yeah.
You got the bag filled,
Yeah,
or however the young kids say it.
yeah, definitely spent too much money on merch.
I got a few things myself, but
Yeah.
man, we're just gonna really kind of recap these 2 days in Nashville, Tennessee. Indie Tribe, no big deal.
Yeah.
They really put down probably the most well thought out
For sure.
concert festival I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Many acts. All the big names in Christian hip hop were there, with the exception of maybe Lecrae.
Yeah.
Lecrae was there last year.
Yeah.
Andy Mineo, KB, Indie Tribe, Miles Minnick.
For sure.
We had some local representation there as well.
Heaven
with
on
Gavin.
Earth. I think Child Like CC, all them.
It was dope, man.
Yeah.
But man, we're just gonna do a real recap here, just some thoughts,
Yeah.
man, just from what we experienced from the artistic point of view,
For sure.
to the worship experience that was there, to just maybe some thoughts, heading out of it for what's happening within the whole Christian hip hop movement.
100%.
But man, what was your general take of the whole experience?
I would say quality. I think, man, they really were very, proficient. And everything was, first of all, the venue was insane. I love the skate park, right? That like butted up to the coffee shop that was inside of this, like, not necessarily arena, but like garage almost. Like, so it was such a beautiful translation of culture. And what's interesting is, man, like, I think everything that it did, I love that they only had one main stage and you just had to like sit there and go through it all. That's cool, because sometimes in festivals it's cool to have like 10 different stages. And man, sometimes the person you're wanting to see and another person, like, they're playing at the same time, you have to choose. So obviously as it gets bigger, it's probably going to go to that, maybe, you know what I'm saying, potentially. But how they did it was just effortless. I think it was so good. Minus the concrete floors. Good grief.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
man, my body was killing.
I mean, tore up.
Man,
I'm still tired.
Yeah, I'm still tired too. I'm still recovering, but I wear these barefoot shoes, and there's like no padding at all. Like it's like 2 millimeters between the ground and your foot, so it's like you're almost truly walking barefoot. But just standing on the concrete and walking in downtown Nashville for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Man, I was done.
No, for sure. I think. Man, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part, man, I can't just say one.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite artist was there, Andy Mineo.
Yeah,
My second favorite artist was there, What Up RG.
Yeah.
We have some history with RG. He did a show for me back in January, Set Free, representing. But the panels that just kicked it off were phenomenal. Like just the one with Kato. So the producer panel with Kato and Darkchild. Dude, I didn't realize Darkchild was as solid of a Christian as what he is. But the dude's been making music for 40 plus years, produced MJ tracks, you name it. But just his heart for the Christian hip hop movement. I know he just recently started his label, Aliens Alive. So just kind of hearing his perspective on why Christian hip hop matters, why the Christian hip hop movement, and why they need to keep making just the quality, the lyrical excellency that needed to compete with secular music, so that when a young person, do I listen to, whoever, a Drake, or do I choose to listen to a No Big Deal, where the excellence on the Christian hip hop needs to be at the same level as secular music.
For sure. And I actually got, man, a little convicted because, I put in work, we make videos, media team. I mean, I think we crank out good content. But I left saying, you know what, I'm going to spend more late nights, and since then I have, in making better content and videos. And because if we don't, I think we put, like God to shame. I'm not saying that, but man, we're representing the creator of the entire world. So the effort that we put into making anything needs to be absolutely brilliant. It needs to be special. You know what I mean? And so definitely, I love that panel. What about the other panel with Indie Tribe panel? You like that?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just obviously I've been rocking with Christian hip hop for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I know Indie Tribe, I know all the artists, but then just kind of seeing them all together and just how the whole movement came apart and why No Big Deal has done what he's did. He basically started this thing just not even that recently. This was the 4th year of this festival. And that dude he's such a unifier in the space. Bringing other artists together, not just to form this Indie Tribe, group, but then just bringing in everyone from, the bigger labels from Reach Records and 116 and, everyone else that's out there. But yeah, I enjoyed all the panels. I'm glad we got there early. I'm glad we got the VIP to sit in on it. But yeah, I got a lot of information out of it.
No, for sure. One of the things that I really thoroughly enjoyed, especially. One thing I would say is, man, can we get some more food trucks next time? 2 food trucks for 1,300 people.
But dude, they got the Vietnamese food truck. That's all you needed.
Yeah, man.
It would bomb me.
When that line was backed up, Anyway, that's just me. But man, I love the second day when you went into the smaller skate park, and it had all like the vendors and stuff. I thought that was so cool. I just love because it was so nostalgic. And then most of the vendors, they're putting out like high quality merch. You know what I mean? Phil was there from the original curator from Rapzilla was there. He has incredible, clothing line. Him and his wife, they sell vintage Jesus pieces and stuff. But man, so shout out to Phil. But man, it's actually super beautiful. One thing that I would say that I think, man, could have taken it to the next level, and I know this is maybe different. If they had somebody to actually like specifically present the gospel for like 5 minutes. Yeah. I know each like act said something about faith and stuff like that, but I would have loved a call and response. Like, what I mean? Like that. I think
definitely was missing.
Yeah. That would have literally, I think, set it off, because then you can say, man, 1,300 people came, but then we had like 200 people like actually give their lives to the Lord,
Yeah. Most of the bigger like CCM, festivals, they do have that element in there. Now that you say it, I didn't even think about it till now. But no doubt. But again, when KB always shares.
Yeah, he preaches. He's a preacher.
He's always preaching, man. One of the best.
No Big Deal preaches a little bit. He shares some stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what did you think about kind of the new songs that came out from Andy Mineo? There was a bunch of teasers.
Yeah, a bunch of teasers, yes. I love that it's different. It's almost 70s, 80s type feel. On some, I was like, man, it's like, you know what I mean? And so, and hearing those teasers, because they didn't do the full song, it was like 30, 40 seconds or a minute. Those were dope. But it's going to be interesting to see the full album, because I'm somebody that thinks in terms of, I like individual, but I also like the project. So what is the project going to communicate? And, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, Wordplay, people don't like Wordplay a lot. I think he's one of my, like, I think he's such a actually genius MC.
I agree.
But he doesn't get the reputation. He doesn't have the reputation like everyone else has, because I think he's so interesting and weird, and we got a gap, so we're kind of twins in that area. You know what I mean? But I think it's good. What about you?
I love Wordplay. His name is fitting because his wordplay is phenomenal. How he puts together his bars. But I mean, ever since the first Magic and Bird, so I think it's a Magic and Bird, part 2, when Andy dropped another Vietnamese restaurant, when he said, he dropped the pho in the Vietnamese bar, and the dunk contest song. I mean, I've always been down with Wordplay, but the teasers were good. But man, when Andy first came out, that was freaking hilarious, man.
Probably one of the most entertaining things I've seen in a long time.
Man, you were up close. Yeah. So you were front row. You had the all access pass. You got the video. I'm like way in the back because I don't want to be in a crowd. Like, I'm 45. I'm not jumping. I'm not jumping up and down with the young kids. No, I'm not there. And I couldn't really see from my vantage point. But then I saw the videos that you took and everything, and the wrestling moves that he put on there was straight fire. It looks so realistic.
So strong.
Yeah, we gotta throw a little edit into this video of that scene. But that was funny, man.
No, 100%.
But then, so Andy, he basically shut down the whole event. Yeah. I mean, he's been my favorite Christian hip hop artist, ever since I really got into the movement a little over 10 years ago.
For sure. Where do you see it going? Obviously, it's not at its pinnacle yet. But where do you see Holy Smoke going? And where do you see that festival like moving into?
Man, just seeing No Big Deal's heart of like, again, I'm going to throw the unifier out there, just what he's trying to do and kind of bringing everyone together. Basically it's twofold. It's like the art is phenomenal. So it's people come here to see the art, see the beauty of hip hop. I know I've always thought as hip hop as being artistic and beautiful, and merging that with as a tool to share the gospel. Right. So it's like bringing people in to witness the beauty of the, the talent that's there, but then sharing the gospel message the way that they do. And is to reach people, even with Rodney Jerkins, Dark Child in the panel is, people have an option to whatever they want to listen to. There's so much creation that's going on out there, more so than I think at any point in the history of the world. And for this, not only to entertain people, but to give them the message of hope that everybody needs. So just what they're doing here, and to think about, here's something I was just contemplating. That venue holds 1,500 people.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you think of
people.
An event with KB, Andy Mineo, No Big Deal, all these guys, they probably could have had a 10,000, person arena, but they kept it smaller and intimate because of, more of the, I guess, the energy flow, right? So say they would have had a bigger venue, like the stadium where the Tennessee Titans play that holds like 60,000, even if they filled it up 20,000, which would have been 20x more than I was there at that venue, it just wouldn't have the same vibe if it would have just been this fully sold out, little smaller venue with that energy that was, persistent throughout.
Yeah. It's funny because smaller venues do that, man. There's just sheer electricity and buzz, man. Hip hop definitely, it's funny because I think not secular is the wrong word, because I think there's something secular for those who are sacred. But when you look at mainstream hip hop, I think it's going downhill because of the content is not changing. So the content is girls, money, drugs, gangs, like fame, all that, right? And we just get another side of that with every album. With Christian hip hop, there is a side of it where, man, the actual creating of it is insane, because you're not talking about these same 5 topics. Like, you have to bring in storytelling. You have to bring in, and I'm not saying the other ones don't. I'm not saying that. But because you're not using what the world has to offer, I think sometimes we think, man, CHH is horrible in that light because they're not creative. But I actually think it's becoming to a point where they're getting so creative, and their minds, their words play, like how they bring things into an existence, because they're not talking about sin, and they're not talking about death, and they're not talking about all the stuff that comes with regular mainstream like hip hop. I think it's on the rise. Yeah. And I think more and more we'll see those names pop off.
Yeah, let's get real about it. I mean, if you think about mainstream hip hop, like you said, there's 5 things: drugs, women, drinking, robbing, stealing. Yeah. That is not relatable to like 99% of the world.
For sure.
But the Christian hip hop message, especially like the bigger artists, they're talking about depression, the struggle of not knowing if there is a creator, and maybe just relationship issues and things like that is more relatable to the masses.
100%.
It has more of a connection with people than to be talking about, all the glamour stuff that, like the mainstream guys, that is so unreal. Like, it may seem desirable to people, but that's not real life
100%.
For the overwhelming majority of people out there.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because the demographics, I know I don't necessarily want to be honest with you, the demographics of the people who actually support, man, hip hop is crazy. Like, in terms of, you would think there would be more, brothers and sisters in the room. Right. But man, it had to be 60, 70%.
Yeah. It definitely was majority white, but I would say, just honestly, it was more representation of minorities than what I thought would be there.
Okay. Well,
because normally when you go to, any Christian hip hop, it's usually like 90% white. Yeah. But this was definitely more of a mix of minorities. That definitely still white had the majority, but more so of a minority representation than a normal event.
I mean, I think it speaks to also not necessarily the content is. I also think there's a few things. I think brothers sometimes it's hard to congratulate and like really show up for other brothers. Like I think that's a cultural thing that we need to kind of pray and work out. But then secondly, I think when it comes to specifically that, I think a lot of people, at least in the hood or in those spaces, are still turning onto it. But I think once they are, like my brother just got saved, like in jail, he just got saved, and I see him listening to more and more Christian hip hop because it wasn't available to him. He didn't think about it. He didn't even know that it existed. So I think the more and more they begin to produce this incredible content, I think it's ultimately going to produce an ROI into that community in a larger way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, man, there is something you wanted to announce, and we talked about you love the concept of doing a festival in Jacksonville. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I did my first bigger show, relatively speaking, back in January this year. Brought out What Up RG. It's called Set Free. It was a mashup of Christian rappers and DJs, like boiler room style sets. And really, it was more of an event to bring people out to positive message, obviously the gospel message, but then to witness the art of hip hop, because I'm just a fan of hip hop, for 40 years or however long. I'm 45 when I really started to understand music and listen to it. And to come out to Holy Smoke, my reason for being there was, one, I wanted to enjoy this festival, but two, I wanted to see how it actually came together. I wanted to see the behind the scenes. I wanted to see what the front of the house looked like. I wanted to know what they were doing before, what the planning was, what they did after everyone left. I know there was some VIP stuff that we were into, but I just wanted to know the mechanics of how it all went down, because really that's like the target. It's the biggest Christian hip hop event, I believe, that's going on. I don't know of any other that can even come close to what Smokefest was. Yeah. So my purpose was to kind of see how it all came together, because I have this vision of doing something in Jacksonville to that same magnitude or even more, not to compete, but to be another venue to unify just the whole Christian hip hop body that's going on right now. And man, just, I knew if I didn't go, then I was going to be missing out on a major opportunity that would have set me back months or even years. Yeah. So 100% had to be there. And I'm so glad I did, because it really, I'm an analyst process guy. Yeah. So I'm still processing everything, but I got so many ideas on how to pull something off here locally. Not saying we're going to throw our own version of Smokefest, next year, but I definitely have more information. I'm more equipped to understand what it takes to put on now that I've been to 100%. Smokefest.
And we also want to speak into the space that oftentimes we think that we're competing with other spaces, and it's not. We just know that everyone from Jacksonville won't necessarily go to Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? And so, but we have such a huge hip hop culture here that we want to see develop. I think there's a new, if I'm not mistaken, there's a new like Christian nightclub that's trying to start once a month and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of MCs here, but there's not a unifier. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think you are the missing element to connecting all these pieces in Jacksonville and actually showing up for each other. You know what I mean? Like actually showing up for the space, showing up in the same venue, and we're doing something for the community, not for your own clout. And I think that's my biggest issue. This generation says ick. Like, I think that's my biggest thing with, entertainers. They're very solely driven. And I think we need more people who are, there's a cooperation going on that we can be in and speaking to. So ultimately see, lives change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like when you said showing up, I mean, I don't know if it's just me as a person, but that's just how I roll. Yeah. Like when I support you, I'm going to show up. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to be there for you. When you're doing an event, I'm going to be there. You put something out, I'm buying it. Yeah. I'm listening. I'm getting your streams up. And the movement here in Jacksonville, it probably was at its prime over 10 years ago. Yeah. And a lot of those guys are still making music. They, obviously they're now older with families and, other obligations. But, if God calls me to be, part of unifying the city, then I'll answer that call. 100%. But I'm just a fan. I'm just a supporter. Yeah. And I would love to see everyone coming out. Not, again, it's really because what we're doing for the kingdom. If you think about Jacksonville and the statistics of crime and murder, there's some mainstream rappers who were just recently killed. We've already spoke about them on some other shows. But man, the youth needs it. They need. They need Jesus, man. Yeah. 100%. And, they're hip hop, they're urban, and we need to have more opportunities to bring people to something that's uplifting. So good. That glorifies, the creator of our lives, the designer who desires these things for us to know we're loved, to know that we're enough, whatever direction we want to go, from a career and a profession, whatever that is, but just the lack of opportunities, or I don't even say there's lack of opportunities, because there's things that go on all the time and they're just not really represented. Like I have a lot of friends now that I've met in the past, couple years that I've really kind of, put myself into this space, and whether it's local, like a local group, or it's a big name coming in, I'm like, man, why is this place not sold out? Yeah. Why are there, so many empty seats? So I just want to, feel like the Lord has called me into this to, be part of bringing the people out and just like being there to support and encourage. For sure. I mean, and that's good. And that's needed. You know what I mean? We need, the Bible says the watchmen, right, they stood at the gate and watched the city. They were intercessors technically. Yeah. And we need that in Jacksonville. And we need a watchman, for this next generation. So it's definitely, man, something that we don't take lightly. And, we present it to God in prayer. Man, any finishing thoughts as we close out? Yeah, let's talk about our Jacksonville representation there, man. Oh, man. Man, we had the Cypher going on that night. It was wild because right as Young Drew, shout out to Young Drew, Gavin the Hot Rod, shout out to them. They were getting ready to get it on, and then they had the power, like the breaker blew, and then they had to do the acapella. Yeah. They dropped their bars acapella. Can I be honest? It made it though. Yeah. Like, because sometimes like cyphers is not this highly produced thing. Like it was just, it's in basements. It's in like, you know what I mean? So when they're spitting like that, you have to actually show your true, MC. Like you got to really, you know what I mean? And how you navigate the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Sure. I mean, Gavin, he has some notoriety. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Drew too. Man, they've been on features on some of the biggest names, but Gavin did his thing that night, and then the next day with the DJ Michael V superset when he came out, did that song that he did on that Bodega mixtape that Michael V put out just a couple years ago. Yeah, Gavin, he's definitely making moves, man. I can see him. Really ascending in just all of Christian hip hop, where he's going to be top 20. When people think about, name 20 Christian hip hop artists, he's going to be one of the first to come to mind. He's definitely on his way up. Yeah. It's funny, he was telling me, Andy Mineo, he bumped into Andy Mineo. He was like, hey, man, I'm Gavin the Hot Rod. He was like, I know who you are. I listened to you on Marty's album. So he's definitely making a wave for sure. Man. Shout out to those dudes, man. Legends, man. I think, man, hip-hop is in good hands, definitely, as we move forward. At least Christian hip-hop is in good hands as we move forward. Any last statements? Man, just go out and show up. Yeah. Show up, support, when you buy tickets to events, when you buy albums, when you're just, like, sharing the music with somebody, you're supporting the movement. And that's what we need, because there's so much mainstream out there that is, not doing anything to help anybody, to improve, to understand that, there's more to life than, just all the stuff that has really no tangible, meaning when it comes down to like what's important. Yeah. And so just show up and support. Awesome. Heck yeah. There you go. Free Factor special episode, Smoke Fest recap. check out the highlights and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace.
I might turn up by my soul.